I got a few minutes, stole away from my baby. She gonna come looking for me, so we gotta talk quick. While I was on my little vacation, I learned some very, very disturbing things about the state of the ground in California. And a lot of it's pretty scary, and a lot of it's not getting put into the mainstream media. And the reason it's not being put into the mainstream media might be equally as alarming as the information itself. The ground under California has been in elevated levels of flux for minimally like the last year. Because a lot of the mayors in these cities where the movement is the most intense, they don't want to scare their residents, they don't want to impact the tourism that their cities benefit from, so they have been keeping this information suppressed. Clear Lake is a volcano. Clear Lake is an active volcano. Now, I've been to Clear Lake so many times and I never knew this, but the area around Clear Lake leaches natural gas. Hot natural gas, turns out. The kind of stuff that could suffocate a whole city if too much of it were released at once. So I didn't even know this type of volcano could exist. I thought the only type of volcanoes you had were the hot magma kind, the ones that spew ash and fire and brimstone and whatever else comes out of them. But no, you can get these natural gas ones. And apparently the one around Clear Lake has been increasing in its level of activity. Geologists still don't really know that much about how earthquakes work, even though it's been heavily studied now since about the 80s. They claim that they still can't predict when an earthquake is going to happen. But what they can do is monitor the changes in the ground, and the changes in the amount of gas that's being released out of Clear Lake has been elevated for some time. In that same breath, Lassen Peak, another volcano in California, has been showing similar signs, but this one with magma. So not only is the ground moving, heaving, and responding to the increases in pressure in the magma chamber underneath Lassen Peak, hikers and the park staff in the area have been able to see new fissures in the ground from day to day. Like, let that sink in. The magma underneath Lassen Peak is changing with such velocity that people can literally see the changes. People can literally see the cracks in the ground from a day-to-day basis. Okay? The scientists of the world have said that Lassen Peak may have some weeks to a few months before we see an event based on the rapid acceleration of the movement in the magma underneath Lassen Peak, which obviously hasn't had an eruption in quite some time. The last and probably the most disturbing piece of information that I'm having trouble finding sources from, because obviously the coastal counties, the coastal cities don't need this information getting leaked, or else it would severely impact their tourism. Sometime in early October, there was a significant length of the California coast that just elevated by 6 feet overnight, with no earthquake, with no sign of any kind of geological change in the earth itself. These coastlines just randomly elevated all at once, and the geologists thought, oh well, this has to be a mistake. So they cross-checked all their different tools, they cross-checked all their different systems, and every single system that they cross-checked, I'm talking about the little sensors in the ground, the little tremor sensors, elevation sensors, satellite sensors, lidar sensors, they checked every single tool that they have right now out to monitor the status of the ground in California. They double checked every single one, and every single one was working fine, and every single one reported this same change in elevation. And nobody's talking about this because they don't want to scare anybody, but that should be highly alarming in a state that has so many active faults and has so many sleeping volcanoes. California has like 14 volcanoes. I could be off one or two. Go Google it. Let me know. Put it in the comments. I'd appreciate it. But my point is, California has a whole lot of volcanoes. Way more than I think the average person thinks about. But we are right on the edge of a subduction zone. So there is hot ocean crust being shoved underneath the Californian tectonic plate. That's hot water and sea crust that's now coming to the surface inland. We should be very concerned about that. The fact that this information is not on the news is a huge disservice. And it's honestly really repulsive because your politicians, the people that y'all voted for, that y'all picked, are choosing pocketbooks over the safety of the people who live in their cities. Because folks on the coast, like, it's going to be a very bad day for you. When the big one hits, there's not going to be time to evacuate. There's not going to be time to run. There's not going to be time to do any kind of mitigation measures. So the fact that they have this information and they are not letting it be freely known is a huge problem. But the Bay Area has been having an increase in frequency in earthquakes. Just the other day in San Ramon, they had like 17 earthquakes. The news reported 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. I counted a total of 17. I have my own way to track the earthquakes because obviously you can't trust the news. So please be prepared. Have your affairs in order. Have your driver's license, passport, birth certificates, all that kind of stuff in sealed bags and ready to go. Have yourself a little go bag with warm and cold clothes, with a little bit of aspirin, maybe some of your more important medications if you really, really need it. Have some maps, flashlights, some cheap, easy food that doesn't need to be refrigerated, like nuts is a great one, honey is a great one, for example. Just, be prepared, okay? Be prepared because there's no way that the earth can just keep changing like this and nothing come from it. Shalom, family. Be blessed.